Yellow, you have another story for me? Okay, I'll be there. Throughout Southeast Asia, seafood is a massive production which has become a huge economic driving force within the region, providing jobs within the seafood supply chain for over 300 million people along the coastlines of Southeast Asia. Men, women and even children all get their hands dirty, doing their best to make as much income as they can for the family's livelihood, while also taking some of the fish home for their own food security, as this is the developing world and wide options for nutrition is very minimal. Fish is one of the world's significant sources of protein, and it contributes massively to the food security of the Southeast Asians. Every day the fishermen risk their lives heading out 50 miles out to sea in their small little family boats. Literally a 3-meter fishing vessel which barely has enough space to fit themselves, fishing gear and even life jackets, and even in severe weather conditions. But they have no choice but to head out. Their family's survival depends on this. These fishing operations are very different to what we see on mainstream television shows like The World's Deadliest Catch, hyping the show about men venturing out to deep sea catching big crabs on huge vessels, all equipped with state-of-the-art navigation and even the best safety equipment. But it is shows like this promoting a male-dominant world on huge vessels, which pulls us away from the reality of the seafood industry, explaining who really is behind the scenes working around the clock, day in and day out. But the men risking their lives heading out to sea every day is only part of the story, with the seafood production being massive here throughout all people of Southeast Asia. And to be honest, the women play very important roles in the fisheries production. I've learned that the women assist in every way possible along the seafood supply chain, from repairing and maintenance of fishing gear to being an accountant and stockbroker, understanding the market's trends and shifts. It amazes me that most of the women that manage all of this also manage large households as well, feeding the kids, helping with the homework, meeting religious and cultural obligations, often in houses that lack basic electricity and even sewage treatment to manage their human wastes. As soon as the stock arrives in the fish landings, they develop the understanding firsthand by communicating with fishermen, the weather conditions, the availability of certain fish and the seasoning of stock. The women sort through and separate the stock into their A, B and C quality grading for the right pricing through their sizing and species. They then round up the children to make sure their heavy carrying of stock is stored in the cold rooms quickly to safeguard the process. So straight off the bat, this knowledge is so valuable to the women as they communicate amongst each other and collectively can arrange how to market the stock during those times at the fish markets effectively, to maximize benefits of stock and what people are prepared to pay for. The women will also make decisions from the quality of stock on the day, understanding the demand's value for goods from how long they have been stored. If stored for too long, they will decide whether it's best to sell gutted and filleted, or to sell the head, or to sell as sun-dried and salted fish products. The women also forecast and see what up-and-coming events are, whether religious ceremonies or cultural parades, so they know what fish would be in demand for that occasion. They make evaluations whether to sell the stock in local fish markets or to deal with the middleman, or even to cooperate with other small family units to pool their catches so they can have more negotiating power over the middleman. Daily, the women make these evaluations and also set targets to maximize income benefits from all their catches. The women are often very smart and understand where to reinvest their income to guarantee future benefits of bigger returns, and they will always come back to their husbands with the cost analysis of fuel, repairs or replacements if they need to be made, making sure all expenses are covered. They stay on top of the fishing policies and actions, advising their husbands what they can and cannot do. The reason for this is they understand the effect of the cost would have toward the family if they were to be fined, so they make sure their husbands are well informed. For the women, it's all about the balancing of profit and cost ratio and how they can maximize labor input constantly, staying on top of things. To be honest, what would be more efficient for these women and more beneficial for the seafood market is to keep these ladies within the seafood supply chain instead of having to look in other places for income. Though, throughout all of this, for a large percentage of women, the hours are long, their earnings are small, and as fish become scarcer, their time and work are getting lower. So to make sure all expenses and livelihood is met, they are often seeking other sources of income. So many of them often go out fishing themselves, collecting mussels, shellfish, seaweeds, and other products along the coast that they can process and market to generate extra income, which only adds extra labor on top of their already exhausting days. You know that popular quote, behind every great man is a great woman? Well, here in Southeast Asia, that's very true. People don't realize the labor the women endure here daily in Southeast Asia. They could very well be the backbone of this region. How could we best achieve in helping these women and keep the seafood chain flowing effectively throughout Southeast Asia and continue to assist in developing their skills and valuable knowledge that can be tapped into within the fisheries industry that ultimately supply to the domestic demand? The cost of these women investing their valuable time chasing other sources of income will only have massive repercussions of opportunities lost and accessing bodies of knowledge that can be used in all areas of fisheries. They are the market. They understand the consumer behavior more than anybody. Possibly, to ensure strength in the domestic market is by setting up systems and initiatives that can produce extra education for the females who can then grow their skill sets and become more innovative for fisheries production, allowing maximum or even more outputs for their inputs. Granting these women access to support systems and assistance will develop the market and sustain consistent income for the families involved in fisheries. Strategically, promoting gender equality here in Southeast Asia will serve so many families, as the need to engage with consultation with the women in fisheries can expand their skill set and decision making to lessen the stress and add more productivity to the day, while upholding all the knowledge needed for the market research. The signs of this focus will show massive dividends and will improve the system and livelihood of the Southeast Asians. The need for strategy and policy to promote gender equality when the rubber hits the road, but how do we make their lives easier? We could demonstrate growth within this region and how effective the focus was on gender equality by establishment of support systems, gaining measurements and providing evidence throughout the course of these initiatives, and how great it would be to help these women grow beyond their peak. And even that could potentially lift Southeast Asia's market to a whole new level, supplying to the world purely by focusing on the women and the need to keep them within the market instead of chasing income in different areas. All of this demonstrates that if women aren't engaging in consultation planning and decision making, then we are losing massive opportunity to access an amazing body of knowledge. Though fortunately, CFDEC, with the support of Sweden, has taken a step further by internal capacity building on staff in countries and have developed guidelines for methodologies for ensuring gender equality in project planning, implementation and evaluation. Start making observations next time. Ladies who market the fish are stockbrokers. They name the price to gain as much benefits as they can. They know the demand, they forecast. Even when events are coming, they know what products to arrange. After learning about how the seafood is handled throughout the supply chain, I found it interesting how the women and children operate along the chain, from preparing and fixing fishing gear, sorting through the fish at fish landings, setting up stores and seafood markets. They tend with the money just like accountants, sometimes put the chef's hat on and cook the seafood at local and popular restaurants, to even entrepreneurial thinking, needing to find ways to make more income along the seafood chain. I hope this video showcasing the reality of who's actually behind the seafood supply chain that has broadened your perspective rather than allowing hardcore fishing channels and episodes paint the picture for you, and to see the need in project building here, which greatly serves the global export. The backbone of Southeast Asia depends on it. Hey guys, if you enjoyed our final installment of the video series conducted by the United Nations Environment, the Global Environment Facility, and Southeast Asian Fisheries Development Centre, and have not yet seen our other episodes, please have a look back on our Facebook page here and help us spread these key messages across the globe.